Okay, here we
that I
go.
talk about in the book.
Just to remind people that this is when they vote for David Duke,
A Nazi and a Klansman.
who's a Nazi. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite remarkable. It requires deep and intense study. If you look at how and why loyal subjects of the British Crown revolted in North America against constituted authority, that's what a revolution is. You have to understand that in a place like North Carolina, for example, one of the major reasons they revolted was fear of the Black Scare, which I just talked about with regard to the 20th century and the 21st century. That is to say, there was a fear that Britain was going to arm Africans to squash and discipline settler discontent. Settler discontent, for example, over taxes, for example, this is where the traditional story enters the picture.
And Africans had a reason to do this because the English are moving towards abolition, and so they're offered the chance of freedom if they make this alliance.
They thought that they would get a better deal. You have to realize that history oftentimes does not present pristine and simple choices between good guys and bad guys. Oftentimes it's choosing between who has a dirty shirt and who has a very dirty shirt. And with regard to 1776, many of the Africans decided that Britain just had a dirty shirt and the settlers had a very dirty shirt. It's not unlike the so-called Anglo-Boer War, 1899 to 1902 in South Africa, where settlers, so-called Boer settlers, descendants of Dutch migrants, revolted against British rule. And you'll find that virtually to a man and woman, the African majority in South Africa sided with the Union Jack. They sided with the British. It's not because they thought the British were heroes or good guys. It's just that they felt that they had the cleanest dirty shirt, so to speak, compared to the Boer settlers, and they were probably right. And I dare say that with regard to 1776, it should not come as a surprise that almost by an order of magnitude, the Africans sided with the Crown against the settlers, which also helps to explain the continuing animus against people of African descent, not least descendants of mainland enslaved Africans, because of the fact that we, and I use the term we, rebelled against this supposedly heroic project establishing the United States of America. It also sheds light on the fact of why I say in the book,
Yeah. Sam.
Hey, Sam, I'm mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I paused this part because I really like this point because he kind of makes the emphasis of how like we sided against y'all because y'all were talking about how you wanted things to be free and you wanted this great society, but we were slaves and y'all weren't, y'all weren't really interested in incorporating us into it. So we fought with the British. I just wanted to make sure people caught that. What did y'all think about that? Because I just want to make sure we emphasize that part because I think people miss this. Because I hear white people all the time be like, no, we should just do it this way. No, we've done this. Y'all gonna keep running your head against the wall, but we're not budging. If we haven't budged in this 1776, why are we gonna budge now? All these years, all these hundreds of years.
Hey, man, you want to go first, guys? Or
Yeah, let Mug go
Yeah, I
first.
mean, I just think
sure.
that they don't think that we have any interest in our own self-preservation. Like we're supposed to always sacrifice ourselves for like their betterment or the greater good of the country or some bullshit. Nah, like if you're treating us unfairly, eventually we're going to look out for ourselves. That's always been the case. And then, like, if you like treat us like human beings that have enough sense to be self-interested and try to actually work with us instead of try to work against us, maybe we can get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. No, I agree.
I 110% agree, man. I think that real shit, like I think when it comes to, I, I mean, I don't want to go too off track, but when it comes to, he was bringing up the situation with, what I mean, the Black South Africans and the Boers, like, and I always said, like, yo, real shit, like, out of everybody I hate, the American cracker that's racist, the racist American cracker is the number one. I don't hate nobody. Real shit, I really don't hate a lot of people. Like real shit, like I don't like people that's unjust, but as far as a group of people, I don't hate a lot of people. The American crackers that's racist is my top enemy. I really hate them the most. I really got disdain, and I'll give smoke to anybody, but I don't really got no hatred for it. But the second close to the American cracker is a boy. If I'm like, I ain't never been to South Africa. If I'm like, I ain't never been to South Africa. I ain't never met a boy. But for some reason, it's like I won't like these motherfuckers. Like the thing about it is like, yeah, real. And then when you look at, I feel like the only African country that kind of mirrors our history that can be kind of get behind. To be honest with you, to me, is South Africa, because even though they had a reverse of what we had over here. So I feel like they understand what the fuck, they can understand more out of any other African country what we going through over here. The colonization and say, you feel me, like these playing games, some I'm bored, I've been here, and they be saying they be saying some the boys are some of the racist people on earth. They not I don't think the American crackers is the racist people on earth, but the boys is I don't know. They tired of that shit. They some of the racist motherfuckers on earth. So him just breaking that down to say like, yo, black people in America, we fought with the British, and you know what I mean, like real shit. Like we fought against our own quote unquote countrymen or whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? Like we fought in our own interests. Like I just thought I think that was a cool clip to play. Like that was a real interesting dynamic that you know what I mean, that you decided to bring up with that, man. Because I really think I wouldn't like no boys. Like real shit. Like I really don't want to meet one of them niggas speaking African. I'm like, get out my I don't want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like I think because of the motherfucking apartheid is so close to like the civil rights in the way when he first came in the country, and just I mean it's similar, it's different, it's way different. They got colors and they got all types of other shit that we need is way different. You know what I mean? Like real shit. Like we didn't they didn't bring us they didn't take no black people from South Africa to another country to build a country. Like they just came to their shit and just you know what I mean? So the dynamic is different, but the way the system was set up, I could feel like South Africa's looking at America like, how y'all doing y'all motherfucking Jim Crow? Oh shit, I feel like they was doing that shit. Like I feel like they was collaborating together. That's why, like for some reason, man, I really do not like them. You know, I'm ADOS first, like real shit. Like South Africa, y'all gotta really fight your own battle.
See, the
You know what I
funny
mean?
thing
Like
is,
I don't want to say hold your own nuts, but you gotta hold them tight, do your
see, the
thing.
funny
But
thing is, like, I don't wrap my head around globalism. Like, it
yeah,
takes enough for me to care about poor white people in the United States for me to care about the whole world.
you
Like, I
better than
think
me.
that's going to have to be for a younger generation. It's not by choice. I keep telling you, the ancestors are pushing me to fight for all of us. But again, nobody hates like family. Like, I can trace two of my ancestors back to my slave masters bloodline. Like, who knows how many of these white people are
Right.
our people who, because remember, a lot of our people passed and ran off and became white. So we don't know how many of these people are in our bloodline. Like I said, I feel like that's why the ancestors keep forcing me to try to care about these people, because of the fact that a lot of them are our children and they don't know.
That's different. That's crazy. See that? See that? You got way too deep, man.
Sorry,
I got to,
y'all have to
you got
forgive me,
way
the
too deep.
ancestors.
You got way too deep, like real shit. Like that's why the hatred, you feel me? Like you feel me? All the conflict between American blacks and American whites is so different because we so linkly close together, and we did so much for this country, man. And it's like real shit. Like you would come, nah, I mean, see my grandma, you feel me? Make biscuits for you all day, rape all night. You know what I'm saying? Like she had your baby, then you own the baby. Like that shit. Like feel me? Like me, you wonder why we so fucked up today. They've been doing this. They was
Hmm.
doing this shit for years. Like then you wonder why we all out of control now today. And you like, why y'all not stable? Like, what nigga, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that we still got it together the way that we got it together is a blessing, to be honest with you. Because niggas, I don't think a lot of other people would have been able to survive that shit. Not like this, man. I mean, like it was really, be honest with you, I feel like the Caribbean slavery was more torture. They was working them to death, killing them. You feel me? Like
They
real
did
shit.
that
Like,
here too. I think it
but
was just different.
but no, but exactly. But this is the thing about it. The thing about it, our fucking slavery, form of slavery, was very psychological, very emotional
Yeah.
abuse on top of torture. Because they, for me,
Hmm.
it's like we can't kill all of them. So when we kill one of them, we going not saying that they didn't go through that either though. Feel me? Like, but it's like, yo, look, you gotta think about how this white nigga's looking at this shit like this. Like, all right. So you live in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is like one of the first stops. So you coming off the middle passages. Like, so there's niggas coming through there every day. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Like, you feel me? Like, so when you could bring in a nigga to Virginia, he was like, yeah, I got 3 niggas and shit. One, you feel me? Like, real shit. Like, I do not want to kill these niggas. I done spend my last $100 on these 3 niggas. They about to make me $1 million. Real shit. And then one nigga start wilding all the time. Nah, I don't want to do. Nah, he run away. Feel me? Like, so I'm gonna make a example about this one nigga. See that? Feel me? Like, so it's the dynamic is different. It's stuff like I'm gonna kill all 3 of you niggas. I'm gonna get 3 niggas tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like. The dynamic, that's why, feel me, that's why they retain so much of the African culture and we lost so much of ours. Like, feel me, like real
Yeah,
shit.
and too, you have to remember they outnumbered the settlers in a
Exactly.
way too, and that's why they had like a bunch of revolts as well. So it was different, right? So we were on this
It's still
vast,
horrible.
wide,
It's still
open.
horrible.
No,
And
no, no.
I
I'm not
don't
saying that.
downplay
I'm
it.
just saying that. I'm just saying that our situations are different. So like in Haiti, they were able to throw out their oppressors. And like for some places, they were able to have more successful slave rebellions because they were on islands. And because, like I
Yep.
said, it's just different.
Yep.
And
You're
they're
absolutely right.
so the thing about it is we should never do the oppression Olympics, right? Like we know that our brothers and sisters deserve their CARICOM money, and we are here to stand with you. We just ain't giving you up none of our reparations check unless
Nope.
you're giving up that CARICOM check, but y'all
For
ain't
real.
talking about that. So
Word up.
until you add ADOS to CARICOM, which you won't, because then which actually we should be added to CARICOM because we need to sue the Portuguese, we need to sue the French, and we need to sue the English
See
for
that?
everything before 1776. So, like, if you
Once we
want to
get this
keep it a
first check, you
buck,
feel me? Real shit, when the world sees America, like they really gave they niggas, they really gave them Negroes that they did wrong. They really try. That was over. The dominoes gonna fall. The dominoes gonna fucking fall. It's all like Donkey Kong. We coming to Nigeria. Give me my money. You got everywhere. Give my money. Everywhere else, give my money. Britain, give me my money. Spain, give me. You don't get. Give me my money now. The USA did it. Give me my money. So like you gonna see, I feel like that's really the best thing for Black people globally. Before then, you got all these different groups and subcultures of Black people. Now we can really build a real coalition because now we will find. I mean, if it's done in the right way, we could probably find a way to get some type of power, some type, and then be on real terms of solidarity. You know what I'm saying? Instead of one leashing off the other, or one just like you doing good, I'm just hugging on to you. Now it's like we come to each other like European countries may come to each other. Not saying I fuck with them niggas, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still an ally shit. France want to, we feel me? Like European countries go to war with each other all the time, but when it's time to ally up, they ally up. You know what I'm saying? Like real shit. So I feel like the best thing, and if you feel me, I feel like America, Black Americans, we the transcendents of all Black liberation. It could be liberation movements. Look at us. We look at liberation movements across. Of course we share, but when Black people start getting liberation and shit like that, man, that shit just sparks something in everybody, man. You know what I'm saying? That shit sparks something in America, and then as a consequence, America having the most influence and the most power in the world. Like the Black people in America getting shit. Oh, now it's really on. You know what I mean? Like real shit. You gonna influence other people to rise up. Even all your POC people, all your friends, all them niggas, the untouchables in India might be like, damn, man, they gave niggas some money, nigga. Nigga, I ain't doodling in the gutter no more. I'm about to kill everything.
it's so
I'm
funny.
about to murder. I'm about to hurt everything until I get fucking, so I can pee in the toilet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, I mean, that's the type of people we is. We get that
It's
energy off.
reverence.
For real, we get that energy off, like real shit. Like I always, like I'm gonna keep saying that shit. When shit get done for us, the fucking country move forward, and real talk, the world move forward. I mean, we
And
push
that's what they
shit
need
forward.
to really understand, because at the end of the day, like if you once you raise Black people, you raise the floor. It is what it is.
Mhm.
And we're the
Any
ones who
country,
care the most about justice. So if you fix our schools and you fix our communities, you think we're not going to be out here bleeding heart for everybody else? It's just in our nature. It really is. Like Black people love everybody, and that's why we've always been abused, because we care too much about other groups.
That's the truth.
we've been psych, and we've been psychologically abused to really care too much. If it, reality, like, but we always cared. The thing
I
about it,
think
like,
that's just who we are as people. Like, I
I think
think
it is.
that's part of
I
who
think
we
it is.
are. That's ingrained in us as people. Like, I just think that we genuinely care about justice and people. And I'm not saying that they're, I guess I'm talking more so about ADOS. I'm not talking about Africans in general, because there's been plenty of there's been
Yeah, I
plenty of
know. Them
there
niggas.
has been plenty of,
A lot of
not even
niggas
just
horrible. Not
not
saying I
even
ain't saying it, but a
not even
lot of
at
niggas are
that.
horrible. Like,
Not even just that, but let's be honest, there have been plenty of dictators that are our complexion. So we can't pretend like, there's no black people, but maybe because of
we got
Adolf
coons
and
too. We got coons too.
no,
To be
and
fair.
maybe it's because of where we come from, like in our oppression, and we haven't been able to oppress anybody. But I think the majority of us would choose building a better world because, like I said, we like everybody. Like, how hyped do people get when a white person comes around and they know something about their culture and they not on some racist shit? Like, not saying that should be the case, but we see this on Twitter. What happens every time a white person can do a mediocre version of a black dance? We big them up to the biggest thing ever. It's like the biggest talk of the town. And why is that? Because there's a part of us that loves them, and I don't understand why.
Sam, he said, I think you understand why, Sam. I think we said it. They low
Nobody
key
hates
our
like
families, huh?
family. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie,
nobody
yeah,
hates
real
like
shit. Like
family.
they low key. I think that this American shit is built out of all oppression, all this shit. It's confusing.
And we
It get
say it all
confusing,
the
but
time, right? Like we are the
low
descendants
key,
of
they our
slaves and
family.
slave masters.
But that don't mean
And
I want. That don't mean I like them niggas. I'll fuck around and kill one of them niggas. I don't care. But to be honest with you, but low key, like they is our family by blood though. You know what I'm saying? Like real shit, like by blood. And they
okay.
did that shit to us. They feel me? We the children they abandoned. When you look at that shit like damn, like we America's abandoned children. Them built the backs off the country, them did all this shit, raped us. We really products of motherfucking abuse and rape and shit like that. We not supposed to be here. That's one of the other reasons why we gotta deal with all this shit. 'Cause we ain't supposed to be here, man. But we still here. Kicking it live. Hello. I was
I
shaking hands.
swear. Okay, so one of these days we're gonna have to have a conversation outside of the Negro meeting because this is too deep for the
Like,
Negro meeting. They ain't even
yeah,
gonna be
all
there.
right. I'm taking it
No,
there.
no, no,
My
no, no.
bad,
I'm
man.
not talking about you. I'm talking about where I want to go with this conversation, but it's gonna get too
I'm gonna
deep.
take. Oh, I'm gonna take a nap. Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap, man. Just pay the. I'm going to sleep. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Just pay the pop a little bigger for me. I mean,
Papa
like, pray, I mean,
Legba.
pray, do your hoodoo
Papa
thing for me.
Legba.
Cousin Mud, I'm gonna holler at y'all. We had a good ass talk,
You're
man.
so
Yeah,
goofy.
man.
All right, I guess me and Mud gonna have to finish out the Negro meeting.
All right, let me get up out of here.
All right, have a
All
good
right,
night, John.
peace.
All right.
Mud, do you understand where I'm going? Like, because I get it, but I feel like you understand. Do you understand where I'm going?
As
Like,
far as
it's
what?
it's not so much that I love. It's not so much that I love them. It's like, but remember, even King had to make a pivot, right? Because at a certain point, it was like, okay, this isn't like we're getting somewhere, but we're not getting where we need to be. So we have to incorporate, right? We have to
Oh, you
expand.
talking about the reaching out to white people shit?
Yeah, and the POCs. I mainly talk to white people because I prefer them, but and the POCs.
I mean, yeah, we got it. But like
But on
honestly,
our terms, but on our terms.
yeah, honestly, I'm all for having the conversation with them where like I can explain my argument and my position, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to like seriously consider what I'm saying, and then we can go from there. But this
Mm-hmm.
game where like you motherfuckers just gonna talk to me like I'm stupid and
It's
like
not
nothing I
working.
say matters, like
Mm-hmm.
that's not happening no more. So
No,
like
we're here now.
yeah, so like I'm gonna have to be aggressive up front,
But I
and
don't
then
mind that. You see how I always be like reparations first, and if you're not like for that, fuck you. But if you
yeah.
want to go from there, we can talk about you having this whole great society that you've been wanting. You're just gonna have to
Yeah.
include Negroes.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna have to have a real conversation about that. And if you're not willing to have that conversation, then yeah, I'm gonna be an asshole and do all of that shit. But if you want to have that real conversation, then yeah, let's have it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Like I said, I feel like they're a little bruised and beaten because of this last election cycle. Like I feel like we took a lot emotionally and spiritually, but I feel like a lot of this kind of crushed them. So I feel like in a lot of ways they're ready to like come to the table. And I think it might be a minute before we get to see like how many are willing to come to the table. But we didn't have a bad first day. Like MG launched that 24 hours and we got like 400 views.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
shit.
and that's
I
just, and I'm pretty sure that's mainly the Negroes. Wait till we actually start hitting them white ears.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like they need to hear some of this shit. They need to hear like an unfiltered, black perspective, because what they've been getting is this
Is
like watered
Kyle
down.
and other white people who live in all white communities talking for us?
But not even that, like the Benjamin Dixons, like those type of
So should I
motherfuckers.
keep this in or should I cut that out?
Man, I don't give a fuck about that dude.
So
Like,
see,
I
I
think
don't
he's
follow
corny.
Benjamin Dixon like that. So like all I know is he's never talked about anything that's caught my attention. So I assume he don't talk about nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to his show. When I heard, like, I actually heard his thing on the reparations thing, and it was like it was the most vague, like, I'm doing my best preacher impression. I'm going
Oh,
to
he
get
was
you
getting his
all
AOC
amped up,
on.
huh?
He was getting his AOC on.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna get you all amped up, and then the great crescendo is gonna be me saying that's why you have to support reparations, and then that's the end of the conversation. Like that's the end of him talking about that, and he's moving on to the next thing. Like
Mm.
it wasn't like we're gonna actually like there was no details to what he was saying. It was just some vague. You
He
have to
just
give
dropped the
time to
bomb and walked away
yeah,
from
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like if you're not willing to at least if you're not willing to at least have the conversations, I guess.
I mean, treat it seriously. That's the thing. Like you treat it like you're talking about having a serious something that we're seriously going to think through, like so that white people know this is not like some bullshit. Like that's the thing. Like they think they can run a game on us because motherfuckers like that just saying some vague shit that doesn't really mean anything. So why not say it's a class thing? Why not say we're going to do a poverty program and call it
Hmm.
reparations?
Yeah, and no, and we're not going to let them call it reparations because this is my thing, right? So let's just say that they were like, we're going to fix class.
Yeah,
You and I know enough of Darity's research that everything that they present to fix class won't fix class, right? So
yeah,
even if we wanted to be like, which we don't, and we would never, but let's just say for for devil's advocate, that we were like, oh fuck reparations, we just want to fix class, right? Everything that they talk about to fix class does not fix class. If it doesn't fix race, it doesn't fix class on their lowest spectrum either. It just fixes the middle class whites and the rich already have their money. It's literally like they just transfer money to the buffer class, right? So if they
hmm
were literally being like, okay, we're going to do Medicare for all, we're going to do housing as a human right, we're going to do wealth redistribution, we're going to do all of this, and we're sending everybody who is in this tax bracket $1 million checks. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
Then we could be like, okay, like we still gonna fight for this reparations, but I'll take this 800 to $1 million check and we gonna have this conversation. You understand what I'm saying? But that's
yeah.
not what they're talking about. They're talking about free college. They're talking about
It's the very minimum.
education. Like everything that they're talking about, we know doesn't even close the class gap for them. So it's
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
we're not signing on to your stupid ideas. So I don't know so much if it's that people are racist and stupid, or is it that the rich oligarchs have set the conversation of what we are fighting for? And
yeah,
then everybody else has gotten behind them. Because when I look at the white leftist progressives, most of them are rich white men that I see, or at least upper middle class white men. Like, y'all
hmm
didn't have to struggle to switch on to doing this stuff. Like
yeah,
you got family money behind you somewhere. So you don't know any people who are poor or black, or that's why you think $15 an hour is a good thing. Like $15 an hour is garbage. I live in LA. I stopped working for under $20 an hour like 3 or 4 years ago. And I own my home. Okay.
yeah.
Like it doesn't do it's not enough. It's not enough.
Not at
So
all.
why are we fighting for stuff that's not enough? And I guess that maybe that's why I feel a certain affinity for them, because I'm like, you guys are so lost. And like, if
I
we're gonna
mean,
live here together, either we gotta figure this shit out or I gotta leave. And I don't want to leave the country that my family, like for me, my family is indigenous. So like, even though I can trace my family back to slavery, I can also trace my family back to, being indigenous as well. So it's like, do I want to leave the country that my family in some of my lines have always been from? Like, or can we fix this?
well, I mean, part of it is that like they have like been brainwashed to hate black people so much that they have also associated black people with like these poverty programs and all this other shit. So, you know, they hate those things also. So, like, they've been fighting against that for, you know, ever since Reagan. And now that you know, it's getting to a point where it's like they know that they actually need that shit, they still trying to do like the most minimal thing so that black people don't get it also. That's my
Mm-hmm.
opinion on it. But even like that, like if we're going to be honest, if you were going to do like class thing that was something that was like going to be serious, it would have been the baby bonds thing. It would have been Darius baby bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would have done that. But even then, it's like we're talking about 18 years out, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the way
Exactly. That
he had
doesn't
it
help
set up.
me, my mother, our family, which, like I said, I think, like you said, that makes perfect sense. Let's knock that out for the future. So, what are we doing for right now?
Yeah. And but I'm saying like they're not
No, I
even
agree.
going that far. You know,
Yeah,
they're
no,
not even going that far.
because they're not interested in really fixing poor people. Like,
Yeah.
if you really want to keep it a buck, like what they're doing is they're pitting us black people against the poor people, and they're telling everybody, well, at least you're better than them, and we're not getting anything. Like nobody's really getting anything except for the
Mhm.
upper middle class whites, except for the upper middle class and the rich. Those are the ones who are really getting, and even the upper middle class, they're a buffer class. That
Yeah.
managerial class, they're a buffer class. And we're going to end up eating them before we eat the rich because they're closer to us.
Yeah.
So they better get on the right team.
Yeah.
But
But I
here,
mean,
let's.
not, oh, go ahead. Go
No, I was
ahead.
gonna say let's go through a little bit more of this video so we
All
can. So the Baldwins can finish. So the Baldwins can finish this one.
right.
That racism, the term I use and had probably used in this conversation, is a necessary but insufficient explanation of what has befallen people of African descent in North America. Because if racism were sufficient, then it wouldn't do little to explain why it was that in the 1950s and 1960s, when African diplomats started coming to the United States and coming to this area and traveling up the highway from Washington to New York and stopping at segregated enterprises in Maryland, that the State Department wanted to give these African diplomats buttons to wear on their lapels so that they could be distinguished from we U.S. Negroes. Now, if these people were racist, they treat the African diplomats terribly too. So they're dark skinned, sometimes more darker than I am. But they're making distinctions between and amongst them. I think partly the condition of black people can be explained as a political condition, as much as it can be explained as a condition of racism.
What do you think about that part, Mud? Giving African diplomats buttons so they can be distinguished from us U.S. Negroes?
I
I missed
mean,
that in history class.
yeah. I mean, it's something that we really like, but we also know it's a reality because when we talk about like the Obamas and these motherfuckers who came in that time period, like they were going to
His
college.
dad. Mm-hmm.
They were going not just going to college, they were going to
Harvard,
Ivy League
honey.
schools.
Harvard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's obviously that there was something different going on between them and us, like the way they were being treated by white society.
I agree. And there's something different with them because a lot of them are already coming here with money. And we have to stop looking at them like everybody who comes here comes with, $20 in their pocket. Even my
Because
friend whose family. Mhm.
we were fooled. We've been watching those fucking infomercials late at night where the African with the fly on the face, and we thought all Africans were living like that when it's
And
not the case.
Africans looking at us like our shit nice. Like, especially some of them, they got like skyscrapers and
I
all
know.
kinds of nice shit. Like, damn, this
Crazy
shit
shit
look like
going
Wakanda. Sorry, forgive me. I hate that movie.
on.
But yeah, I think it's just the interesting conversation. Like these are conversations that people aren't So I guess what I'm looking forward to for 2011 is I want to have a real conversation and a dialogue about race and ethnicity and just really break down these lines because with all of the newer immigrants that they have allowed into the country over the past 30 years, we have shifted from being a black and white society into being an ethno society, right?
Yeah.
Like we kind of have. And I don't think people have caught up with that. Because I remember when my teacher in my philosophy class told me, he was like, I always saw everything as like white and then people of color. And I was like, no, like, no, like you guys tend to team up over here. But he was Indian, but I don't know what caste he was. He didn't seem like a Brahmin. He was probably, he wasn't, you know, he wasn't an untouchable, but he didn't seem like he was a Brahmin.
Mm.
My trig teacher was a Brahmin. She was cool, but she was a Brahmin. She was like hardcore. She was like, listen, she's like, I'll help you, but I went through a civil war in my country. I have no patience for your bullshit. You better figure it out. She was
Yeah.
nice though. She was nice. I just wish I already knew trig, so I would have did better. But let me see what else he has to give us.
The title of the first chapter is How Caribbean Slavery Came to the Mainland. And I think a lot of what's unique about your work is this unraveling or explanation of the close association to what happened to the Caribbean and the United States and the slave trade back and forth.
Well, absolutely. You have to realize that these colonies were not a unitary project. They were not one unit, that is to say, mainland of North America, Jamaica, or Antigua, Barbados. But there was a certain commonality and unity between and amongst them. And surely when you had slave revolts, as you had frequently in the Caribbean because of the ratios, sometimes the Europeans being outnumbered 20-1, the settlers in these Caribbean islands made a great trek from Jamaica, Antigua, Barbados in particular, to the North American mainland, oftentimes bringing their Africans in tow, oftentimes helping to bolster the European settler enterprise in the Carolinas and in Virginia, and helping to give a shot of adrenaline to the slave system in North America. That's part of the explanation of how there's this unity of interest between the Caribbean and the North American mainland.
And you mentioned in the earlier segment, but talk a bit more just how important the slave rebellions were in the shaping of the politics of the time.
Well, first of all, it helps to infuse the black scare. I mean, when I was writing this book, some of my editors were suggesting to me that I was going overboard and talking about African resistance, shipboard insurrections, mass poisoning plots. Poison, for example, was a particular.
Sorry, I'm apologizing. Just say the book is good. Like he got into the nitty gritty. That's why his editors were like, "You sure you want to do that?" He got into the. I told you how she was like, "I just want to live like white folks are better." They were plotting on killing whole families. They were plotting on killing the whole families, taking the wives. Like it was.
Shit.
They were on some serious shit. It was some other shit.
Oh wow.
A tool of enslaved women under slavery.
They're preparing the food for the slave master.
Exactly. Arson is a continuing problem. Having your throat slit in the middle of the night is a continuing problem. And so obviously this is helping to infuse the black scare. People are become afraid of dark-skinned people. Some might say for good reason, but it's the system under which all of these people are forced to labor that's creating this violence. And one can make an argument that this systemic violence is still with us to a degree, helping to shed light on the amazing number of gun crimes in the United States, the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which has been interpreted, as you know, to give citizens the right to bring their guns openly into a Starbucks in Texas, for example. I think you can't understand what seem to be bizarre episodes unless you understand the roots of these bizarre episodes.
So this period of the tremendous growth and expansion of the slave economy and the massive profits achieved, it's the basis of how much, I guess is the question, is it the basis of what then becomes the industrialization of America and the banking system and all what becomes the more modern infrastructure?
This is not a new idea, even though I think it's something I try to dig into on perhaps a deeper, more profound level than has been dug into previously. That is to say that Eric Williams, a founding father of Trinidad and Tobago, in his books Capitalism and Slavery that came out 70 years ago, wrote about this. Walter Rodney, the late great Guyanese historian, wrote about this in his book How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. You cited Karl Marx at the top of this interview. Of course, Karl Marx wrote about this in Capital, about how the system of capitalism enters upon the world stage with the blood of Africans gushing from every pore. In terms of what Marx talks about in terms of primitive accumulation, the fuel that leads to the takeoff of the system largely comes from the African slave trade. Slavery was not a sideshow. It was not a sectional issue. What I mean by a sectional issue is that it wasn't just a product of the South, Virginia going southward, because it was financed from the North, New York in particular, but also Rhode Island, also Boston. Not only that, but it was not only financed from these areas, oftentimes the ships left from these areas, and so therefore when you had shipboard insurrections, there were nationals from Rhode Island who were being massacred, which helped to unite those Rhode Islanders on the basis of antipathy towards African with Virginians and Georgians and Carolinians. So slavery provides the fuel for the development of this modern society that some are able to enjoy, which is one of the reasons why when I used to have conversations with certain friends from abroad about how they wanted to build a society like the United States, well, I would say, well, find millions of people to work for free for a few centuries, and you can have a modern society too. And I think that this is oftentimes lost sight of, particularly when it comes to talking about reparations for slavery, the free labor that Africans provided to this country. Many people would suggest, well, my relatives only came here 30 years ago, so what do I have to do with slavery? But you're enjoying a society which was built upon the backs not only of enslaved Africans, but I should also say, built upon the back of land that was taken from the indigenous population. And one of the points I try to stress in this particular book is not only the fact that slavery was an impetus for 1776, but also a proclamation that London had made in circa 1763 to keep the settlers from moving steadily west, seizing the land of the indigenous, because that led to clashes, which led to London having to send redcoats, and London was trying to contain India at that particular moment in history. It was jousting with the Spanish and Cartagena.
There's a big debate going on in amongst the English elite at the time whether this whole colonial project isn't just a boat anchor. This whole thing's just costing too much.
You are correct. And so when these settlers are then pushing further west, coming into conflict with Native Americans and First Nations peoples, indigenous people, it's draining the exchequer in London. And that's leading to a fissure. That's leading to a split of opinion between mainland North American opinion and settled opinion in London, which erupts in a revolt against British rule, leading to the formation of the United States of America.
All right, we're going to continue this discussion with Gerald Horne.
Another day. But yeah, he dropped some gems in that video.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely dropped some gems in that video because he definitely shows how it's different. It's just different for us because of who we are and our heritage. And maybe that's why other groups kind of, when they come here, they're so dismissive of us, because if we ever take our rightful place, they don't know what their space in the hierarchy would be.
I mean, especially like when we're talking about like the leftists and the socialists, like I was telling MG one time, like if they really believe the shit they say, they would treat our ancestors almost like they're deities. like,
Exactly.
like,
It's like Ernie Chambers said.
like our fucking we like they are the prime example of like labor being mistreated, but for some reason everybody wants to just gloss over that point.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like you said, everybody wants to gloss over our struggle. It's like we don't matter. And then when you point that out, they get angry. Like, you're just being selfish. How can we be selfish when there's a bottom caste? How are you selfish when you built a country that did nothing for you and everybody else gets to come here and enjoy the American dream? And my friend who stopped talking to me after we had our conversation about immigration, she was upset with me, but I asked her a question. I said, listen, your parents came here for you to live the American dream. I was like, you live in a small space, you work a job where you have very little time to even think. Like, the best thing that you have is the fact that you and your family are such a tight knit, family. But like, outside of that, you don't really have time to live a life. You're like, so your family moved here for you to have the American dream. How's that working out for you? So you come here to get the American dream and you don't get it. And I'm born here and I don't get the American dream. So who gets it? Just those few rich people who come, who are either born here, or those few rich people who are able to immigrate into our country.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, like, I see the class divides even in the rich immigrants. So a lot of the rich immigrants come here and they get to have great lives, but we don't bring in the poor people from their countries, because if we brought the poor people from their countries, they would be fighting with us.
Exactly.
But instead, we get other groups who come here who have a little bit of money behind them, or they feel like, well, I'm just going to come here and work hard, and then, and I'll be able to have the American dream. And when the American dream crushes them, they take that money that they've made and they go back to their country and it's worth way more money.
Yeah.
And then, unlike us, we're stuck here and it is what it is, right? Like, we can't go nowhere. Like, nobody will take us. So
Staying out.
it's just like, how do we, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a lot. I keep getting, it's a lot. So I guess everybody's going to have to come to the table. And I guess we'll see over the next few weeks what the response is to this show, so we can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be working with going forward. Because you can't ally with people who aren't interested.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's just a thing where motherfuckers are gonna like, they're gonna have to see that we're serious. We're not budging. We're not
Yeah, we're
like,
not backing down. Mm-hmm.
that our numbers will grow, because more and more, more and more ADOS are gonna, come to the realization that something needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, it's true, because at this point, like, we have to do, like you said, something has to be done. We can't keep just going forward in the way that we've been going and pretend like everything's just going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not. Like, it hasn't been, things haven't really been working out for us the way that we want it to. So what do? How do we go forward? And like I said, reparations is definitely the way for ADOS. My only thing is, after we get the money, what do we want our society to look for, right? So most cultures, when they think about time, they'll come up with plans for 25, 50, 100 years forward. I don't feel like we live in a country that has any vision for the future. Like,
Because
outside of
we're
campaign
too busy.
slogans.
Because they're too busy, like, fighting for power, the short-term power. Like, that's all it is. And the country, because it's not like, it's such gridlock, because, like, no one wants to deal with, like, some of the big issues, especially like race. No one wants to deal with that.
Yeah, because yep.
So we're fighting about all this ancillary shit around it, and we never really tackle the big shit. We're too busy choosing sides that are worried about all this soup, like that. We choose the winning side for our perspective, as far as like some symbolic shit. Like, we like to
Yeah, and we
choose,
stay losing.
yeah, we like to
Choose a
choose,
symbolic win, and then we lose in the end. Like Joe Biden, he's
yeah,
already gearing up to lock people up. The only thing is, I think white people are going to feel the pain on that one too. I think he's going to come for their communities as well, because there's too much dissent right now,
yeah.
and the oligarchs have to start closing ranks. So I think white people are about to realize what mass incarceration is.
Shit, I hope they get a turn. Shit. Shit, I'm tired of it being our turn.
I think it goes back to, what's that? Oh my God, let me remember. No, because I'm mixing up the name. but I'm not gonna say his name because I'm gonna call him the wrong name. But it was like, you know, first they came for the socialists, and I didn't say anything because
Mhm.
I wasn't a socialist. Then they came
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
Jews. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to stand up for me. That's what white people are gonna go through. Like, look at Flint, Michigan, right? Like, they poisoned white and black people.
Mhm.
The reason why nobody cares is because it's majority black.
But also with the fracking shit, they've been doing that shit
Mm-hmm.
too. And I've been like majority white neighborhoods that have been going through that, and like I'm kind of shocked they haven't fucking we haven't seen more of them motherfuckers just running up in federal buildings with shotguns over the
Yeah,
fact.
like we did in the 90s, the Tim McVeighs and
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
which, you know, I don't, you know, God, please
yeah. I
don't
don't
let us
really
have to
give
go
a
back
fuck,
to
but I
that.
just think that's like
Well, I just
interesting.
don't want to be in the building. But no, I agree with you though. It is interesting. It's insane. Like, at the end of the day, it's kind of just insane the way it all, I guess the way it all works out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe because we watch them, right? Do you see any of them having any good conversations? Because we watch them. Like, you know, as black people, we don't get the choice to not know what white people are doing. We always have to be kind of trying to pay attention to the white people meeting to make sure that it doesn't turn into a come and get Negro meeting.
Yeah.
So, ooh. But you watch
Well,
more of this. You watch more of their stuff than I do. So,
honestly, I've kind of fallen back. Like I like only if I see something that like piques my interest, then I sit there and give it my time. But like honestly, they don't have conversations that outside of like
their bubble.
yeah, the same culture wars we've been having for the since the 60s with the same
Ugh,
arguments that have
yeah,
been
that's so
happening since,
boring.
or they're talking about healthcare for all, and it's really just like they're having like a pep rally amongst themselves about how this is
Exactly.
not, yeah, but they're not really having any like discussion about how they actually plan to succeed with this idea that has failed twice.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. It's like, how do you keep doing the same thing and it not get better? And you just be like, oh no, this works. Like, no, we're just gonna, no, sooner or later the Negroes will get it. We'll just keep ramming it down the Negro's throat. And it's like, where do y'all think that this works? Like, in what world does this work? And I don't know if it's just, to be honest, I don't think it's just white people. I think it's the oligarchs just in general. I feel like they're just repeating the same message and it's not working anymore, right? So the stuff that people used to, and I don't know if it's just everybody, but I feel like people's critical thinking is improving as well, right? So as before you used to listen to our black politicians and you're like, yeah, they're really fighting for me. And now when you listen to them, you're like, wait, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't say. It's not what you did say. What did you not mention?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just getting to that point.
Yeah, I think that we had a few people back in the day that was on that wavelength and saw it and was speaking about it and
Mhm.
breaking it down for us. You know, of course, like Malcolm was doing it forever,
Yeah.
but like I think now it's more of like the everyday person is like they're able to decode the shit in a similar fashion.
Yeah. I think so. I think I don't know. I feel like going forward, at least within the next 2 years, I think people are gonna really have to learn critical thinking and get some
Yeah.
discernment because I feel like there's just so much like the media. We already know the media lies, right? I don't think I
Mm.
understood how much mainstream news, which is so funny because we sound like Republicans, right? But I didn't realize like how much propaganda it was until I watched Joy Reid do that segment on MSNBC when she was talking about how ADOS was misinformation. And if anybody
Mhm.
was talking about reparations or a Black agenda, then and I was just thinking, like, wow, like, it's amazing how many ADOS people had to like have conversations with their family after this because their family thought they were like tied in with Russians. Like,
Mm.
I don't think I understood how dirty it was until then. And then I was like, oh, so this is how they get down. So it's just like they're just gonna completely just make up shit that
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna check them?
because
Like
we
I
don't
kind
have any
of
power to.
yeah, I mean, I kind of I mean, I've always kind of had that feeling about the news. But I've been like,
It's always rubbed you the wrong way.
yeah, it's like, but I'm black, and then like I've had an interest in conspiracy theories for a while. So like,
Uh-huh.
of course I'm gonna question shit, but like,
Question everything. Was that X-Files?
yeah, but it's like I think what threw me off is that I didn't think that I thought more people thought like I did, like they knew it was propaganda in some ways, and like not to get too influenced by it, but it's like,
No, they full on church.
yeah, they taking it religiously, like because the white people say it, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like we're gonna have to break out of that. But that's what I think is also gonna happen, like when, the boomer generation, that generation kind of dies off. It's gonna be more in the hands of people who, question shit.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the only way it's gonna get better.